everyone. Good evening, and welcome to all for the IBM Maximo Training demonstration for the training session. Today we are talking about the IBM Maximo product and training for the certification and other activities for the other industries. Let's go through that. First of all, we are talking about our MindMajix detail because this is the one of the institute where we are providing our all kind of certifications, all kind of training for the different technologies, different professional groups in order to get they are achieve their career goal, also improve the work ability and improve the understanding of the existing technology. So to upgrade that, they can use that. So as a MindMajix, we have more than 10 plus experience for our trainers and 9 plus experience for e-learning. We emphasize on the online training, classroom training, as well as the audio and all the technical e-learning facilities for the industries. Then we have the industry readiness for any kind of certification and based on the different technologies, we provide our assistant for the certification and the details for the support that one, provide that kind of detail. And for this, based on our experience, we have reputed corporate around the globe, and almost we have a huge amount of professional trained certified, which is more than 450,000 across the globe. We have trained certified the people across the domain, across the industry, and across the technologies. And we are covering almost 500, more than 500 plus, 500 plus technologies, online trainings and corporate trainings, and there are self-paced video based on demand. We are providing the training and platform for the getting certified and details for MindMajix. So this is the little introduction about the MindMajix, where we are going to do. So that's the kind of experience we have, which the rich experience with along with the technical and knowledge and along with the new technical technologies we are supporting. And also count is going on. We are adding new technologies and professional and corporate training in our experience. So hope this will help for growing you future. Coming to next, I am going to tell something about myself, and I am a senior associate consultant of one of the leading software company, and I am working there as a senior consultant for the Maximo Asset Management, which is the Maximo Enterprise Asset Management, and I am providing the consultation for different roles and responsibilities for different domains across the industries, and I have more than 15 years of experience in Maximo industry. So I have worked on all the almost version of the Maximo upgrades and updated version and kind of variety of the domains like utilities domain, manufacturing domain, maintenance domain, oil and gas, and the transportation. So there are certain add-ons on the Maximo. I have done certification. I am certified consultant for Maximo. I have on this. So this is a little bit about me. So I'm going to help on this for Maximo Asset Management product awareness and the training for the different purpose and scope of work. For today training agenda, I have offered what is which is one of the feature in the Maximo and in industry, like introduction of multi-organization and site capabilities, which is mostly used for the manufacturing and maintenance domain, where we are maintaining different industry organization. We have global companies, and how can we manage the Maximo system across them, and in order to make them profitable to for the asset throughput and asset life cycle. So in multi-organization side, understanding the concept of organization model and site. So we are going to define what are the organization, how can we define the organization in Maximo, and what kind of details is required to identify the Maximo before implementation in any company, and what kind of site information, also organization site to a major decision where we are going to derive our maximum and design our maximum solution. And then we can see various entities available in organization setup. What are the organization setup? What are the prerequisite? What kind of master setup we can do in order to derive? What kind of metadata setup in organization? How can we model the organization? What kind of privilege and capabilities in organization and site setup? This is our major agenda for today. So I can brief you about something like going through one example. I can say in order to understand the organization is one of the term which is used throughout the company. So let's say any manufacturing company has different financial entities. So we separate them as a organization. So our thumb rule is, I can say, if our financial activities are different, our currency is different, our chart of accounts are different, then we can separate as a organization. The goal of defining organization is to separate their data, separate the roles and responsibilities, and we can accommodate all kind of activities, asset maintenance, and all the asset work in that organization to respect to that financial entities. So any financial entities are different, then we can define as an organization in a company. So, for example, I can say in the case of multinational environment, some companies is running in USA, some same company is running in India. So we can define as a different organization because our currency is different, our chart of accounts are different. So we can define the, let's say, IBM US, IBM India, IBM South Africa. So likewise, organization is defined based on the financial entities. So organization has certain feature we have to predefine, like as I said, their chart of account and the kind of setup they used to maintain. Like for like vendor list, what kind of we define the some set of data, like what are the item they are going to use. Item I can say like what are the material they are going to use throughout the organization. What are the vendor information they are going to use. So we define this in Maximo as a set which is called company set and item set. So that is like company set is the list of the vendor which is authorized to work for that organization and the list of the items which is can be used throughout the organization. So these things we defined, predefined that at the organization, and also we defined certain information at the organization level and like what kind of calendar shift the person use. Like if this organization using certain kind of shift, like I can say morning shift, evening shift, night shift, the kind of roles and responsibilities for the persons and the labor information we defined at the organization level, at the system level basically. So these are the primary setup we have to define in Maximo system before configure the Maximo for any company. So we have to define the some system level information. I can say the person record, like I am the employee of the company, so my record will be unique throughout the company. That we called as a person record. Then we defined as there what kind of calendar or what calendars of the calendar shift or that information is defined. Then we defined as a labor. Labor is coming at the organization. Let's say we can say a special craft, a special skill is required, like electrical, mechanical. Any skill is required to complete this work. So we defined as a craft and skill. Any kind of certification required in order to get the labor. So we defined all this labor in the details and craft and skill at the that level. Then we come for site. Site is something like the our core functional location, core functional entities, where we define our inventories, we defined our storeroom, we defined our physical location where entities are performed, and they are independent to each other. For example, I can say IBM US is one of the organization, and under this I can say New York, Boston, New Jersey. These are the different sites. So we are defined these as a site. However, these cases comes under the US, so these are under the one organization. But sites, so site is basically all the they have in the logic. And the idea to differentiate the site is their separate inventory, because they are managing their inventory in that particular location. They are taking from there and working there. However, they can share the inventory, but our logic, so we defined some site specific information like your asset will be the site specific. You are generating the work order for that any particular asset, that will be site specific. The work order inventory, you are doing any kind of procurement, any kind of purchasing, or you are raising the request for purchase, and all the procurement is specific. So that way we define the site specific information, and these are the quite crucial, because most of the information site level is the transactional information. As you say, like we generate the work order to maintain any particular asset. So this is the site specific we are sharing. And once site information cannot be shared with other site without the help of organization. So that are the site logic in order to define. So we will go through the other topic, like these are our basic topics. So we will, going forward, we can see in more detail in the system how we will define the organization and site, and how they interact with each other in terms of data sharing, in terms of transactional data, in terms of the process flow. We will look on this. But before that, I can see certain entities in available in organization level. For example, we can redefine some entities at organization which call at organization default information. Let's say your work order. Suppose you want to generate work order, what will be the specific work type? It's preventive maintenance, corrective maintenance. It's kind of what will be the status of those work order when generating that. So that entity we can define work that we called as a work type. Then we defined also inventory, like what would be the status of item once created inside the inventory. Then purchasing option. So we have different options available at the organization application. So we use those options in order to configure our metadata setup. So that is defined at the organization application, which comes under administration module for the Maximo, and that has been taken care by our administration job. So that is our organization. We can go for multi-organization. So as I said, like financial entities are there. So suppose IBM US and IBM India. So we can define two organizations, separate organizations for different financial entities. So two organizations cannot share the same kind of vendor, same kind of item, but depends on the business setup we have to define. Otherwise, these two entities are different. We have because these are they are charts cost centers, and the organization two cost center are different. So they are financial drafting, and year end chart of account is very different. Maximo is more or less maintenance software. Is not a financial, so we do not have much more flexibility in the financial activities. So we have just separated it at the chart of account level, and we define the organization and moving for the transactional data at the site level. So that is the modeling we can do the organization. And as I said, like we have a lot of capabilities. So under the one organization, we can define multiple site. As I said, like in the US, IBM US itself, we can define based on this location, based on the physical site, we define the different site, and different site has a different address. So I can say their ship to address, bill to address. Ship to address is like whatever where you have to ship the material, where is the head office, where you want to bill. These details can be separately defined at the organization level for each and every site. There are certain they have this separate address, and we have also the site specific setup, like what kind of process and all we can set up in the site. So, for example, you can say there are certain approval process in order to get the work order, or for the work order approval in your organization. So, like you can say, like clerk has to create, then supervisor has to validate, and then it is going to foreman, then it is going to approved by the engineer. So that kind of validation we can do in a workflow, and that is the site specific information. So we can utilize that feature, which is called actually in Maximo as a workflow, where we are going to utilize that information for the approval process, or I can say process maintenance. You can say, automation of the process, automation of the business process. That way we can do in our Maximo system. This will facilitate all the auto digitization of the process, and this will help you for the in a day-to-day activity. Then you can visualize, okay, these things are moving that way as well as this. So there are certain number of validation, number of checkpoints, number of rules. We can define system which is flexible enough to small to capture all kind of validation and all to use that process. We define the structure of work. So these things we will look in the different topic while discussing for the different topic. But right now in organization and site setup, we can define these predefined values, which is true for going to use for the physical work or the primary site and the very specific to. That's the introduction of organization and multi-site, and we can go in more detail over the time. So I can involve like the what the curriculum of this course. I can say like multi-site capabilities. We have already discussed about that. The other one I can say is the data storage level. So data storage level is something like the data sharing. How can you store the data and how can you share the data across the different levels? So we have three systems, like we have three level of data storage. The one is system level, the other one is organization level, and third one is site level. So as you can say, system level, as I said, like this is the fundamental database where we are creating the fundamental setup of the system of the software and your personal record, anyone personal record, their name, address, these things are system level, which is going to be unique throughout the system. No one can duplicate that. And then after system level, it comes at the set level, organization level. So organization level, I said like all the financial entities, we differentiate and define the data at the organization level. And organization level set the data, share the data at the set level, which is their vendor list and item master. I can say company set and item set. These two days comes after that. Then we come for the organization and then we go for the site. Site is all your transactional data, all the purchase, procurement, and work order. These information come at the site, but your person data and your security information, like system has the data, we are suppose at the organization we defining these kind of security access we have, like we can say our supervisor can see that data, supervisor can see that much application, this must release should be done by this particular roles and responsibilities. So we are sharing that security setup to specific login id, we associate the group, what are the security group and all. These are the organization setup we used to do. That is the security setup, and we can give them admin access or any kind of roles and responsibilities that we define. For the data sharing between organizations, as I said, like organizations share the item set and company set. So it is possible two financial entities can share the, either they can use the different company set and item set based on their choice approved vendor, but they can also share the data. For example, there are certain approved vendor and items which can be shared across the organization. So that information we can share across the organization, and by using that information, we also transfer the some asset or item from one organization to other organization by using the set information. That is the data sharing between organization, and we have a particular setup. We have to change the authority. Like for example, there are some running asset, running equipment, I can say, in your plant, and you want to transfer from one place to other place. There is two options. Either you want to uh, changing the site, you are transferring from one site to other site, or you are just transferring within a site from one location to other location. That depends on the choice of the business. So this kind of feature scenario comes like you can transfer one equipment from one site to other site of different organization. In that case, the ownership of the say equipment will be changed. So that way, we define the say data sharing and transfer between the organization. We can select your data share, as I said, like yeah, what vendor and item master and other data you can share, and there are certain data can share across the site. Certain data cannot be changed. So, for example, work order procurement, these are the site specific data can be across the site. And if any person has access, any person or any user has access of multiple sites, so they can see the multiple site data. Then I can say transaction involving multiple site and site level application. That is the one like we are transaction. Transaction data is something like work order data. Any data we are creating and put transferring from one like we call it a transactional data, like purchasing, procurement of the item, contract. We are developing any contract. We are doing the work order. We are doing the I can say service tax request, service request. These kind of things are site specific because these are specific to a particular site we can do use, and that can be involve the transaction, and they can use the site specific inventory. We involve inventory, purchasing. We involve vendors, which is a proof for that site. We also involve the procurement life cycle. We can take the code. We can apply the preventive maintenance. That maintenance is specific for site. We do the site specific for maintenance and these things. So there are certain limitations when setting up the option. So that option is also to at the organization level, and multi-site capabilities, which I already said, like you can use the one organization for multi-site for different physical location defined, and we can cross over some information across the site within the same organization. So these are the capabilities we have covered in this scope by doing this Maximo application. These are the basic one for the Maximo organizer and site default. So coming to the okay, for the this training is basically for the functional. I have just started for functional analyst for the knowledge of functional flow of the Maximo, and this duration is going to be a 5 hour, and you have to go MindMajix for that. And this will main focus on your like this training is a big organization of the organization setup, implementation of the Maximo, and how can you troubleshoot the process, like how can you map the business process in the Maximo deployment and the requirement of the customer, so that you can understand the requirement and try to build the solutioning for how can we how can we deploy the Maximo. This will give you the process designing with the help of workflow, where we are going to give you the how can you define the process flow and what are the approval process, how records moving from one phase to other phase, how can we get the notification alerts, these kind of things we have defined this process. Then we have application customization. Sometimes out of the box application is not going to exist fit in the customer requirements, so we have to make the little changes in. So Maximo has the flexibility where you can customize your application by using the application designer, database configuration. We have our online in build process by using this. Just you can change the configuration and look and feel of the application of the Maximo and the security setup of the environment. So that is the major focus on the training for this one, and automation of the business process that we have already done. That is almost this is going to be a 25-hour of training, and we can cover all this topic with showing the Maximo application and looking the details of the Maximo process. So you can contact MindMajix. There are certain training in market. You can see these are very rarely available in the training for the Maximo, and Maximo is one of the licensed tools. So for your understanding, you can use the link which is shared on the slide to get the review site shared by the IBM, which is the product owner. They will give you the access. It's free of cost. You can access the preview site to just see the Maximo, and also you can see the IBM documentation repository for the documentation, and PDFs are read PDFs are available. Read books actually available for the your documentation for your view and for your understanding of the Maximo or different topic. You can refer to those links. Training. And okay, so for there are certain certification you can there are numbers of certification you can plan, but depends on the requirement. You can go for the choose the certification, and the intents of training will be different. But for now, I can say as a functional analyst, to understand the maximum functionality, you can go for this deployment professional certification, which is contains almost 72 questions, approximately 1.5 hour exam duration, and passing percentage is 46. You have to do the 46 question correct in order to get that. You can check this website for more detail about this certification, and this will help for the functional knowledge of Maximo. And also you can check other site for other certification program listed by the IBM, more different. One is that MindMajix course completion certification, you will get the certificate of achievement with your name and all, simple ID. They are the format we will award you. MindMajix awards that certification of achievement of course. That is the Maximo organization model. Like in the session, different application, as you said, we will see the asset management, reality explain the asset management, predictive and preventive maintenance, work management and planning of the work, procurement management, inventory management, administration. These are the different modules used inside the Maximo and heavily used actually. Or these are the core of module and application which is used for asset management that can be set on there. During the course, we will try to we'll give the two projects like how to basic process and basic component practice project for the training, so that you can hands-on training on this Maximo. You can develop a small logical project. How can we do that? And master data related application to that is the two project two. We can do the setup of master data and application. So these are the two projects we demonstrate during the course of the training. And if you want to set up the lab, then Maximo software need to be downloaded from the IBM site, and this required at least 8 GB of virtual memory because it's quite heavy, I can say. Where if it is standalone, then you can use for individual purpose, but at the organization level, it has been the clustered environment, and you can do the WebSphere as a tool, and you can install middleware and database and application on top of that. So you have to use the little powerful system for the setting up the lab, which can be configured. No courses, you can refer to the documentation link for more documentation, certification guide, and software center. These are the links you can explore more on the Maximo for the more detail. And in last, I can say these are the few standard question for understanding of the Maximo, like what is the logging of Maximo, what are the various modules in Maximo, what is the application designer tool, what is the framework, integration framework, which is quite good actually. This is quite good, and also the three-layer structure, the framework, what is the start center, I can say, like the dashboard thing. The start center is something like dashboard we used to see, how to configure that, these question comes. And you say like workflow, the procedure, like how can we automate the business process in Maximo using the workflow process, the different procedure, different features they can ask, and how the email configuration. So these are the standard interview question, and they can go more in detail during the course, and we will explain more on this. These are some sort of example you can say. Regarding this subject, course timing, relocation are discussed on MindMajix. So for this demo questionnaires, you can connect with MindMajix and drop an email to the info@mindmajix.com. For more detail, we will try to answer you, and we will demonstrate and give you the plan, the training as per your need, and the plan that we can give you. Okay, I think yeah, that is for the decision. We appreciate your feedback, and we're looking forward for you. I think that's it. Thank you.